Hi, it's Patrick. Today we'll be talking with Jui Hong. He's the founder of BrandThink. He's going to be sharing with us his story of how he started from zero to what it is today, a 16-man strong marketing communications agency. This is episode 5, Project ConcreteJungle. Hi, Jui Hong. Thank you very much for being with Project ConcreteJungle. Yeah. We have known each other for the past, six years now?
7 years.
7 years?
Yeah.
But I think what we really have not talked about is pretty much how you started BrandThink. Mm-hmm. So, now I felt that now is a great opportunity for us to delve into that. Now, before we begin about BrandThink, your marketing communications agency, let's talk a little bit about yourself, how you first started before and how you first started BrandThink.
Okay, well, about 11 years ago, just before I started BrandThink, I was actually with a .com company and I was handling marketing communications. We were doing interesting things like public relations, events, and being a .com company, the .com bust came, so everyone had to go find a real job. And I decided at the time, I wanted to do something that is tangible, something that I can put my hands on and, at the end of the day, see results from the work that I do. And that's why I started BrandThink and to do it as a marketing communicator, because it's a direct relation to what I was doing just before that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was an interesting venture. Yeah.
What were you doing with the .com business? What was the business all about?
Well, the business was actually a music company, and we were doing.
Were you with one of the few the big boys or?
No, it was a small .com company, and it was actually a music company. We wanted to revolutionize the music industry by selling music online, through MP3s and things like that. We had this big
like iTunes.
With this funny idea that we could sell music through the internet.
So are you kicking yourself now?
Yeah, man. we had interesting ideas as well. We thought music can be sold through the mobile phone as well. Right. Through ringtones and things like that. Who would have thought, right? Oh man.
So the company did not even go into ringtones?
No. At the end of the day, like any other .coms at the time, the whole thing just went kaput. And
this was what, 97?
This was in 2000, the early parts of 2000.
About 2000, all right.
Yeah.
Okay,
so the investors pull off, and the rest of us who were there had to basically find a new job.
Were you one of the founders?
No, I was not. Well, I was not a founder. I was actually hired for the marketing communications part of it.
All right. So you were the level of employee.
Yes.
And once you came out,
yeah.
What made you want to go into entrepreneurship? I mean, starting up an agency and being self-employed.
Yeah, and doing that without any experience in an agency as well. I started BrandThink, without having worked any single day with another agency. And I guess if you want to give a good reason why, I would say it's because I was young, and being young, I was dumb. Just thought it could be invincible. Nothing can really nothing could go wrong. Just decided just go head on and just do it, and yeah,
Uh-huh.
and it was crazy, I mean, and that didn't really go well. For 2 years we struggled at the end of the day, but at the end of the day, it was still doing something with your hands and being able to see results with it.
So why marketing communications agency? What were the initial what do you call this? Objective of the organization?
One of the early things that we wanted to do was to do digital marketing. Having at the time being at the crux of the boom, and you see a lot more people going online. We decided to be an agency that helps businesses actually go online, do digital marketing, and we wanted to create email marketing campaigns for them, or to market themselves through the use of the internet and the technology. And back then, a lot of the businesses that we approached had no clue how to use the internet to market themselves. And because of that, every door that we knocked on literally didn't quite understand what we're trying to sell, or didn't quite understand the service. So it reached a point where they decide, hey, do you guys actually do events or the traditional stuff like print? Like, can you create a brochure instead? So being young and dumb, we said, okay, let's do that. And luckily at that point, I had some experience when I was in university. that was able to actually create publications. I was able to do layouts. At the time I was learning how to publish newspapers, publish magazines, and because of that have some experience doing some sort of marketing in terms of advertising, in terms of creative. So we did that instead.
So you were not being dumb or anything like that. You just
we just needed the money.
You just needed money because your idea didn't really sell.
Yeah. I guess it's really being way ahead of our time.
Uh-huh.
It's quite interesting as well because we started as a digital agency, not really doing that well as a digital agency, which we had to adapt to become a traditional agency. But today, our fastest growing segment is actually the digital marketing. I would say almost 30%, 40% of our growth is coming from digital marketing, and it's a big full circle, I would say. It took 10 years to reach that stage, but it's been a good run since.
So was there a reason why you chose marketing communications?
Yeah, I think I've always been very, very interested in marketing, and I think it is one field that I've always felt very personally connected to as well. Before the .com, I was actually working in a Big Five accounting firm, and I was actually doing consulting work, and the kind of work that I was doing was consulting businesses how to improve their process, how to do business better, or maybe change the way some of their organizations run. But being a consultant is a little bit different because most of the time you're just preparing a nice PowerPoint deck, and what happens after that is beyond your control. You're not necessarily the person who's going to implement some of these operations, so you don't get to be the hands-on person to see those changes. You don't get to drive the car.
Okay.
In the sense of it, you're basically saying, that's a car, this is where you need to go, this is the map, go. But I kind of like driving the car.
Right.
Or at the very least being the navigator. And that's why I thought marketing communications would be interesting, because the kind of things that we were doing, the proposals that we were doing, has to be implemented. And when we implement those things, there has to be direct result that comes from it, whether it's through improved sales or something that builds the brand. But at the crux of it is really something that's hands-on, that you can really do and see results that come out from that. Yeah.
Why don't you share a little bit about the challenges of opening up a marketing communications agency? I mean, I think it's one of those businesses that are very low barrier.
Yeah.
So how do you encounter challenges like that?
Well, that's the thing about being inexperienced in the agency world, is that you have no idea what you're getting yourself into. When I started the business, right, I realized at the time there were literally thousands of agencies just like the one I was starting. They are all equally small size, 2 to 3 person kind of thing. Then of course there are a completely low barriers to entry. I mean, some guy with an accounting degree, who just got from a .com could start an agency. I mean, literally anyone could start an agency, right? But it's not as simple as it is, because you actually have to compete with so many people out there for a small piece of the business. And being small, the kind of businesses that you get are very typical. They are usually the small flyers, there are maybe some posters here and there. The kind of clients you work for are probably small businesses, whether it's restaurants or the local service shops and things like that. So you tend to be very limited in the kind of clients that you work with, which was something that I found out the hard way, in a sense. So yeah, that literally tells the first 2 years of our agency history, actually.
So was it difficult to start off an agency, something that is very work intensive? With just one person? Were you starting by one person?
We had 2 people at the time,
right?
And BrandThink was founded with two people, but the business wasn't really growing in the direction that we were hoping for, to a point where it was either one of us have to go or we had to shut down the business. We weren't earning enough to basically cover two people's expenses, so we had to make that tough decision. And that's when I realized that we can't just survive on just doing what other people is doing. There were literally thousands of agencies that at the time who is basically, and I think this is epidemic in terms of our industry as well. Everyone is literally selling the same thing. and no one's really differentiating themselves that much. And which is why at the time I decided there's one differentiating factor that I can really use is the fact that I had a business background. I came from a consulting background. I showed people how to improve their processes better, be able to improve their business better. So I started to do that in most of my pitches. So instead of presenting how nice a brochure was, nice font, nice color, I decided to show them how to use this brochure to improve their business. Is brochure the right way to improve their business? Maybe you should use a flyer instead. Maybe a poster would be better. Maybe you should, do billboards advertising here, or maybe you should try going online, sending an email newsletter, for example. So we decided to focus on how to use marketing as a tool to improve their business, and we focus on the process of marketing instead of the tools of marketing. So having that change from having to compete with other agencies on how nice our design was to how well we are able to use these tools to improve businesses, and that changed a lot because the agencies we were competing at the time, I would say, to generalize, right, they are mainly started by art-based professionals. They are great designers, but they may not be so well versed when it comes to the business side of things. I remember back then, we pitched to a client, and the client told us that we were the only one who came in and prepared something on a PowerPoint slide, complete with Excel charts on what's your ROI growth, how they can expect things to grow in the next 6 months to 12 months. And that's completely new, and everyone just came in with a board that shows, oh, this is the poster.
So you were selling value rather than than just the creative.
We were selling something different. We were selling how their marketing can improve through proper process, through proper planning, and doing things the business way rather than just focusing on the design. Yes, the design does help in selling the product, but the process matters as well, and that's where we focused on. And that's what we found out. Not many people were doing that at that particular time.
Okay. So was it difficult to find clients at the early stages? I mean.
Yeah, it was. I think before we started selling that, like I said, there was literally thousands of agencies out there. And I think we were just lucky that stage we had a few big breaks from people who liked who we are, who kind of liked the spirit that we're presenting and gave us an opportunity to prove ourselves. When we started, we had literally no credentials. We had nothing to show how good we are. So all we could do is based on our promise and based on our word.
So these few people that gave you the opportunity, they gave it to you because you showed them the value of your proposals, or
we showed them what could.
You just dressed nice and they liked you, and
we didn't really dress that nice, but we showed them the value of be able to do something. We had planned, and maybe we were the only agencies at the time who were actually planning. Will you
be able to share one of those instances?
Yeah, I think our big break came when we had we first started off by a company who's basically a TV channel called Channel V, who gave us the break by saying, forget about all this digital stuff. Can you do an event? Okay. And we created an event concept for them. Follow on that, we had Clarins, which is a cosmetic company. They needed people to do all their magazine ads for them. They're creative, and we did that. We did that faster. We did that better, and basically that was our second big break. And then of course our most famous account is the Apple account, and basically we got the break to actually market one product at a particular time, and that was 8 years ago, and we've been working with Apple ever since, and that has been one of our biggest breaks. And that's when we realized that we can't go after scraps. Right. We have to go after projects that has value. We have projects that we can really put our passion and our value into it, and that's how things got started really well after that.
So drawing back to your first account, Channel V.
Yeah.
Well, what about the event that got them really excited about working with BrandThink?
Oh, that's really cool.
Or it was just.
Well, I think. Well, I think.
Why don't you share with us? That one the one win that you remember the most.
Yeah.
And it was against maybe a larger competition. Or you were able to win it because you were able to outwit them or something.
Well, that's very recent actually.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know who we won against, but we pitched for the Jetstar account.
Okay.
Okay. Jetstar, as you know, is a budget airline. They launched in 2007, if I'm not mistaken. And then if you remember correctly, the launch of Jetstar was smack right in the middle of the price war between Malaysia Airlines and AirAsia.
Right.
If you can remember, there was a time when AirAsia will run a 2-page full color, ads on how great they are. Then the next day, Malaysia Airlines will run another 2 full-page ads on how great they are. And we had a budget that's compared to these two guys, and we won a pitch against a few big multinationals, which at this point in time I can't remember who now because the client never told us who, but they did say that it was a multinational account. And we won it because of the way we approach the project. And we told them, look, you can't do things against Malaysian Airlines or against AirAsia. You have to do things that's completely different. And being a budget airline, it's easy to go to the mall or just doing the zero fares, which is popular at the time. Zero fares and then plus surcharge and fuel charge and all that kind of things. So we created a campaign that involved cartoon characters, and it was hand-drawn cartoon characters, and say it's just fun to fly a Jetstar, and it's a completely different approach. And people were very sick at the time of all this price war, and what they wanted was a budget airline that is just better service and it's just more fun and more convenient to fly. And Jetstar flew from KLIA, so we used that as a main point to say that it's just better to fly with the Jetstar. And it kicked off very well. I think at the time they went from 1 flight a day to 3 flights a day, and did very well in terms of the capacity. And that's probably one of the good project that I can remember from recent times as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
What about year one?
Yeah.
When you first started year one, what were the challenges of day-to-day running BrandThink?
I think some of the challenges that we faced was finding out what to do with the time that we have. When you have no projects, right, it is really, you actually have to go out and do business development. You have to prepare a lot of pitch work, you have to prepare a lot of tenders and things like that. And when you actually get those tenders, right, you will then have a problem of trying to figure out what to do with your time in order to finish that tenders. So the kind of cycle you go through was you tender for something, you win something, and then you have to find time to do that something. Once you finish that project, right, then you found yourself with nothing to do, then you tender again. So it's basically an ups and downs of something to do, nothing to do, something to do, nothing to do. And so naturally that means income, no income, no income. And that's very inconsistent. And that was one of the challenges that we went through. And being 1-2% at the time was really difficult because you don't have a team that can actually support you while you do your business development.
So do you hire that team to support you? Was that a solution that you took on?
I think one of the biggest thing that I did was to hire someone to did the design work, to did basically the production work itself. I think that took off 80% of my time, so I can focus primarily on client service, primarily on business development, and it has grown steadily since then. But jumping that hurdle of hiring the first person was extremely difficult because for one, you're not sure whether you can trust the person enough to actually do the work. Second thing, of course, is the additional stress of having to worry about overheads, worrying about having somebody's lives under your hands, and it doesn't go away. I have a full team now, and it still keeps me up at night about where the next paycheck's going to come from, how we're going to pay for lives of all these people who's working here. So that is something that you have to overcome and realize that that's part and parcel of running a business. And I think a lot of people don't realize that is that when you start a business, you are running a business rather than it's not another profession anymore, and it's not really about yourself anymore. It's a lot of people's lives are at stake as well. Yeah.
Okay. Right, so let's talk about someone who is new in entrepreneurship, who may want to open up an agency, or may not want to open up an agency. What are the 3 things you would like to share with them?
Well, the first thing I would say is I
was just about to get there. Don't give me another competition.
No, it's not about competition. I think I think I think the idea of going into an industry who has extreme low barriers of entry, who basically have thousands of competition up there, you have to be really, really brave to do that, and you have to really know what you're getting yourself into. I think I would guess that most people who start an agency are the people who are already working in an existing agency. You could be an art director, you could be a creative director, you could be an account service person, things like that, who think, okay, I can do this. I'll start my agency, I'll be my own boss, for example. But then they don't realize that running a business is very different from running a project, for example. You start to have to worry about HR, you have to start worrying about finance, you have to worry about cash flow, and a lot of these things you might not be exposed to, and because of that, it's easy to fall into the trap that you can actually run a business and deliver a project at the same time. And I fell into that same trap as well, and I had to learn the hard way that I have to remember that I'm running a business, and running a project is part of that business, but it's not about running the business itself.
So how do you counter that if someone is really want to open up a company, right?
If they really have to open up an agency, the second advice I'll give them is that you have to ensure you have the right resources in place.
Right.
And by resources, first of all, of course, having enough cash. I think one of the big mistakes that I did was to actually start my agency with as little cash as possible, and I had just a laptop with me, and that's it. But I would say do it proper. You should have a team in place, and to have a team in place, you need resources. You need to have proper infrastructure in place as well. Otherwise, you'll be just doing scraps here and there for a very, very long time. And looking back, if I had the resources that I have now, I could have, the trajectory would have been different.
Would you feel that because you have the kind of cash, you don't have that fear of running dry?
No, I think the fear is still there, but I would say you will have a jump start on things a lot faster.
Because a lot of entrepreneurs I talk to, right, normally they always say, start skinny, start with your own cash.
Yeah.
Because they feel that the hunger is the driving force to
don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying spend as much money as you can.
Right.
I think bootstrapping is still important. I still think as a today, even where we are now, we are still bootstrapping. We don't spend on unnecessary things. We don't have a fancy office. But we spend on things that needs to be spent on. When I say you need enough resources, what I meant is that you need enough resources to make sure that you have the proper team in place so that your work has quality. You need to ensure that these people are equipped with the right equipment. Can you imagine us starting an agency with literally, old PCs? That's not going to work. We should make sure that they have the right computers in place, the right software that is needed in place, and those things cost money. But it doesn't mean that you have to buy the most expensive computers out there. You don't need a server or things like that. But we run our entire operations on the cheapest Mac available on the market.
Right.
And that literally costs what, three plus at this point in time. But it is important because those Macs last. We could easily spend it on a $2,000 PC which crashes in like 6 months and we have to buy a new one. Or we can, but you have to look at it that way. If we spend money like that, then we'll be wasting resources on people having to lose productivity and all that kind of things.
Right. So it's more of productivity rather than.
That you still need to have the resources in place to do that. And I think when we were growing, right, we added stuff very selectively. In the sense that we will make sure that our team has the capability to multitask, to be able to do a lot more things with the things in place. At this point in time, we don't have a finance department, we don't have a HR department. We're still doing a lot of things in-house. But, at the same time, we still provide necessary tools for our team to be able to do great work. And bootstrapping doesn't mean that you don't spend money at all. It just means that you're spending money on the right stuff. Right. Yeah.
Okay, that's a very good point because a lot of the young people they tend to buy cheaper cheaper tools, and it does bring down a lot of productivity. And the fact that you brought up is with no productivity means no income.
Yep.
Right. So that is a very important point. What about third point?
Third point. Gosh, I haven't thought that far. Okay,
You're not
pause.
thinking fast enough.
Pause. Let me-
That's gonna go
I have
into
lots
the-
of coke. I think third point is, I think when you start a business, right, you need to have more like a, it's easy to say you need a vision and a mission, but I think every business needs to have a purpose, a purpose that you yourself can feel proud of and be behind it, and the people who work with you, right, can actually feel that same vision as well. And it's easy, it's a very cliche thing to say, but I think the purpose is very, very important, and having some sort of standards on how you run a business is important as well. And that's how that took us. Like, we started off, when at the early stages, right, we made a decision to say that we're only going to go for projects that is going to be profitable, and that's going to be interesting enough for us to keep our interest on. We work for clients which we actually like working for, and we actually like the products, and because of that kind of directions, right, we are very selective. So there are some cases where we have prospective clients approaching us, but are totally with products that are totally just that we do not believe in. We don't take those projects no matter how much money they throw at us. I think
But now,
yeah.
consider the fact that you're already to a certain level.
Yeah.
What about for a person that is really starting up?
Well, I think it's
Do they
I think-
still take it, or do they say that no?
well, it really depends.
I have no belief in this. I have no passion in this product. I'm just not gonna do it.
I think some people might do it just out of the fact that they need to survive.
Right.
And God knows there's a few times in our lives we did take on clients just to survive. But every time we did that, that clients that we don't believe in, right, they sap the energy out of us. They make us very unhappy. Makes our team unhappy.
Right.
People start to leave because of the clients. Then you have to decide whether does it really help you. Yes, it does pay you pay the bills and all that kind of things. But if you start seeing that the people that you work with start to come and go a lot often because of that particular client, right, then you have to start thinking about it. And so far in our history, right, we have actually made a very difficult decision to actually let go of some of our clients as well, just because it doesn't fit. We don't believe in the products, or they are not giving us the satisfaction that we need as an agency to maintain our sanity. And so we have done it that way, and here's the interesting thing about our agency is that whenever we did that, whenever we give up something that was very painful to give up, right, something better comes along. And it has been consistent
You
that way.
free yourself out from the opportunity of getting a bigger what they call it.
Sometimes it's not
Catching
bigger.
a bigger fish.
Sometimes it may not be a bigger fish. Sometimes it might be a smaller fish. But we are much more full because of that.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started off wanting to be a marketing communications agency for the digital era.
Yeah.
Do you feel, and you were, back then you were a little too early. Do you feel that you're the right frame now, or?
Yeah, I think we're at a stage where the growth is incredible. Our agency now has it covers a full spectrum of things. We have PR, we have events now. One of our fastest growing division obviously is our digital department, which we restarted not very long ago, and it's been one of our fastest growing divisions as well. But even within digital, there's a lot of new things that needs to be explored, a lot of opportunities that other agencies may not be looking at, and that's where we see something interesting. We every so often we feel like a new agency. We start new teams, we start new divisions. So in many ways, it's like starting new businesses within the family itself to be able to capture new markets itself. And at this point in time, if we sit down, right, we can actually identify maybe 5-6 different areas that we could literally start a new business for. But now it feels more. There's more confidence, and there's more. I would say more passion for it. For one, is because we've been there. We know what it's like to go into a business where we are not really the top player, or we're not really the main competitors in the area. Secondly, we have reached a stage where we have structure. So if we launch into a new business, we actually have the backing of the entire group to launch us there. It's easy, like when we started our PR division 3 years ago, right? Literally, it was easy to just market to the existing clients who needed a more 360-degree solutions. So we win our clients that way. It's the same now with digital. You know, we started to market as more of an integrated agency. So a lot of existing clients are actually coming back to us, and we grow that way. Mm-hmm. And having a structure that backs you up is it makes things a lot easier. Yeah.
Okay. Last question.
Yeah.
Hero or zero?
A decimal. Still there. Well, we're at a stage where, you know, we come from nothing. You know, BrandThink was a one-person agency, you know, that went to 4-person just 4 or 5 years ago to 16 people today. You know, at this point in time, it does seems like we have made it, but I would say at this stage we are just at the tip of another level of growth. You know, right now we no longer compete with smaller agencies. We don't compete with freelancers anymore, which we used to. We don't compete with the small design studios anymore. We now compete more with the multinationals, the people when we go into pitches now, right? We see big players who look at us just like any new startup, and because of that, things are more interesting. And because we're fighting more with bigger players, right? We ourselves need to improve our process better. We have to have better. We need to have like managers in place to actually manage multiple business unit accounts. We need to also rework our processes to be able to serve big companies who require more stringent processes in place. And that's where our growth is going to now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So thank you very much for being. For sharing, you know, your story with us. I hope our audience learned something from your venture.
I hope so.
All right. Great success in the coming years.
Yeah. Thank you
very much. Teoh Jui Hong, thank you very much for being.
See you.
Teoh.